Hi, I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin, and welcome to Making It Work. You might be wondering where Arthr is. Usually he's sitting right next to me. Well, today we're going to talk to you from the Nowlin viewpoint. We're in this with you every day. Parents, we're married, profession, working together, how to make it work. And we want to share some things with you. About a year ago, I had opportunity to hear my husband speak at a church. And I was really moved by his words and his testimony. And I felt that he should share that with you. How you doing, Arthr?
I'm doing great, Kim. How about yourself? You
know, it's different. I'm good, thank you. But how does it feel to be in that seat versus this seat?
I'm a little nervous.
No.
And I'm a little apprehensive because you're the host and you get to direct these questions
That's
to me.
Right. I get to ask you all these questions, you know. Right. But I really want to, praise God for you and your testimony and your willingness to do this, because it's not easy, but you're about to share and all that you're going to share with our viewers today. And we want you to know that you're not alone. And I wanted Arthr to know that you're not alone. God has seen you do some miracles. I mean, truly some miracles.
Absolutely.
Well, enough from me. I want to, talk to Arthr about his testimony. I know you were born and raised in Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana.
And you were born into a nuclear family, which is a mother and father.
Absolutely.
And you have 3 other siblings, male siblings, and 1 sister.
Well, I had 3 male siblings. 1 female sibling, and 3 of my siblings have passed away.
3 of your siblings have passed away. Your older brother, Ronald, David, and your sister, Connie.
Yes.
All right, and you have 1 living sibling, Freddie, who's in Gary, Indiana.
Right.
All right, so you attended school, and you were born and raised Catholic.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Baptized.
You're baptized Catholic, all right. And you attended Catholic schools?
Yes, up until about the 8th grade, 7th grade.
Okay, but something happened to you during that time. What happened?
I recognized that at a very early age. I was visiting a lot of hospitals to see my mother. My mother was ill for quite a while. I think it was from about age 4 to about 7. My brothers and I would go and see her in different hospitals, and periodically she would come home and stay a while, and then she would go back to the hospitals.
Okay. I'm sure that was very disturbing for you being so young.
It was difficult.
Very difficult.
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, your father was running the entire household because mother was really sick.
And I think God had a special plan, because my father was a very good provider, as well as he managed to do a lot of things around the home, that the cooking and the cleaning, and he worked. He worked, and then he came in and he would do that. He was a special person.
So he did that dual role.
Yes.
He did that dual role, but very supportive to your mother.
Absolutely.
So at what age did you lose your mother?
My mother passed away when I was 7 years old.
7 years old. What did that do to you?
Devastated. I was devastated, One of the things that I used to do on a regular basis, and I never forget this, is that I would make excellent grades during that time, because I felt that that was one way that I would help my mother to get better.
I see.
So in my mind, the more grades that I brought home that were good would cheer up, because when I brought it to her, and I would take it into her room, and she would go through and ask me questions about it, and she would have this tremendous smile on her face. And so I said, well, I'm gonna keep doing this.
Yes.
So that was a motivation for me to do well in school.
Okay.
So,
but when she passed away, what happened?
It was very difficult, because when she passed away, I happened to be in the outer room of her bedroom.
Okay.
And it was early in the morning. And I heard my mother crying, and I heard the agony. None of my other siblings heard that.
Only you?
Only, well, yes, only me. And during that time, my father rushed out of the bedroom and made a call, and the ambulance came, and then by that time my brothers and everybody was awake.
Oh, man.
During that time, it was very difficult. So that next year, school year for me,
yes,
I failed.
You failed?
I failed. That was the 3rd grade, I think.
And you failed the 3rd grade, so you had to repeat the 3rd grade?
Yes.
And your grades just...
Nobody came to really ask how I was doing.
During that whole process,
That
no
whole
one,
process.
relatives, no one, the priest from your church?
The only thing that they wanted to do was they wanted to split us up.
They wanted to move the boys to different homes?
They wanted me to go to one home because one of my, well, as a matter of fact, it was a neighbor down the street who said that I want to take Arthur and I want to raise him. And some of my relatives wanted to split my other brothers up. My sister was already out of the home. She was grown.
She was grown. So your father said no?
He said no.
And he kept his children together?
Right.
That is to be commended.
Yes, definitely.
So you repeated that grade and you went on through elementary and middle school.
Another devastating point for me. I mean, because the people I was in school with that came to me for answers.
Right. They had matriculated on. They
went
moved on.
You know.
And then you had to repeat that in the same school.
In the same school.
In the same school, all right? So during that time, all right, so you made it through the grade, you repeated it, went on through elementary school, middle school, and during that whole time, it was still difficult, still very difficult.
It was difficult because I got a lot of reminders. At one point, what happened was Mother's Day. You know, people were, at that, a while ago, we wore like different flowers. I don't know if they still
do. Right.
The red corsage meant that your mother was alive. The white one meant that she had passed on.
Correct.
I used to hate that day.
You did?
Yeah.
Mother's Day.
Yeah, but my father would always come home with all these corsages, and you know we had to wear them.
We had to wear them.
Yeah.
So you got through that. All right.
Right.
So now, did you have many friends growing up? Did you have friends in the community, the neighborhood, friends?
Well, I had friends. I was pretty popular after I went to the 7th grade, went to 8th grade. For some reason, I started becoming pretty talented in sports, like in basketball.
Basketball?
Basketball was the thing for me. So, you know, the better I was, the more people wanted me to be on their team, and I got to know a lot of people.
Was popularity important for you at that time in your life?
To some extent.
Okay.
But still, it was a loss.
It's still a loss.
It was still a loss. I'm still dealing with that loss during that whole time.
Okay. Were you and your siblings close?
No. You know, I mean, we wanted to be close, but we didn't know how. I mean, my brothers were, you know, a little older than I was, and so they had their own world that they dealt with. So it was very rare where we went to certain places together. Okay. And my father would, you know, work late and then come home and do things around the home and cook. I mean, he was an excellent cook. I mean, so much so he could bake and all these different things, and people would ask him bake. They would ask if he would bake cakes and pound cakes and stuff. So
in the community?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
You know,
okay. So now you're about to finish, you made it through school, you're playing basketball, and you're coming out of high school. You graduated from high school.
Yes.
Okay. Then what transition happened after high school?
The first semester I was supposed to go to college. I had made it to, I was accepted to a particular college.
Okay.
And, but something happened and I didn't go that first semester after high school. And then I got drafted by the military. All
right, so you didn't go to work. While you were waiting to get in school, you got drafted.
I worked, but it was like a part-time job in the mills.
Okay, so you got drafted. All right, you were drafted into the U.S. Marine Corps.
No, I went to the Army. I was drafted by the Army, but I went to the Air Force.
You went to the Air Force, okay. Then from there, you served 3.5 years, honorable discharge.
Yes.
Now, why didn't you finish finish out your term, or what is it called?
I did finish it out. I mean, I just got an early outage.
Okay, why did you get an early outage?
Well, basically, I was wounded while I was overseas,
okay.
In the military.
All right.
And when I came back, I came back to Michigan, as a matter of fact, and I didn't really like going to my new assignment. So I wrote my congressman, and I complained about coming from a tropical climate to a freezing climate in Michigan, called Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
It was cold up there.
It was extremely cold.
And they moved you after you wrote
Well, my congressman wrote back, and it was trying to figure out why was I given that assignment. So I brought attention to myself, and so they indicated that they wanted me to go to another assignment in Japan, but they wanted me to enlist for another 3 years, and I said I can't do it.
And you said no.
And they gave me an early out.
Oh, I see. All right. So from there, now you're back in Gary, Indiana.
Yes.
Okay, what's going on in Gary? What's the climate of Gary now?
Gary was going through a transition, a terrible transition. I mean, drugs had infiltrated the city. A lot of the people that I went to high school with, that I knew, had participated into organized crime, and the crime had become so
devastating,
difficult for a lot of people. To the extent where people were shooting and killing relatives. So it was a very difficult time. And unfortunately, people that I knew had been assassinated, killed because of that lifestyle.
So you left Gary, Indiana, seeing this city one particular way, you know, thriving family, and then you go away for 3.5 years to serve your country, come back, and it's a whole different climate.
It was so difficult because I can remember one time I saw a friend that I went to school with, and I had a friend with me, and we went to go talk to him because I just returned home. And as I walked over to see him, I saw these people come out between the houses, and they had like rifles, and you know, and so we continued to stand on the corner. But the friend that I went to talk to, he left, and this lady came out, and she said, "You need to leave off this corner."
That's what she said.
She told me and my friend, "You need to go now." So she said, "Those guys that came out, they're coming for you."
For you?
Yes.
Why were they coming for you?
They thought that we were on the corner to sell drugs, and we were invading their territory.
I see.
So by the time we got to the car, they had turned the corner, and they shot up the car, and they shot against the wall. Bullets were bouncing all over the place. It was worse than me being overseas in Vietnam.
It was worse?
It was worse. I mean, because, it was just that close.
That close. So truly, God had his hands on you even then.
Absolutely, because later it came out that it was a mistaken identity.
And how many lives have been taken due to mistake of identity?
Absolutely.
So now you're back in Gary, Indiana. So what did you do? How did you, did you get a job, go to school? What was going on?
I got it. I was working, as I indicated, but also I was participating in a lifestyle with drugs and, selling drugs and doing those things.
Were you using the drugs?
Absolutely.
Okay. What was your choice of drug?
We were using marijuana, heroin, different things like that.
Okay. Now, you were shot, and some of the fragments are still in your arm now.
Yes.
Were you put on any type of drugs when you were in the military?
Yes.
What were you put on?
Well, I was on morphine for a while. That's the first time I ever really
had any type of substance in your body.
I was mostly an athlete my whole life.
So your body stayed pure.
Yeah.
All right. So did you get addicted to the morphine?
For a while. Yes.
Okay.
And then when I came out, that's when somebody introduced me to heroin.
And heroin, okay. And tell us, what is heroin? What does it do to the body?
It's a substance that's made from the opium plant, and it's more of a downer. And it can destroy your body. Destroy your internal organs.
How long? Were you using it every day, every other day?
No, it wasn't, but, it was enough because at that time it was like 99% pure heroin. That the Vietnamese and that Cambodians, they would use that as internal warfare.
As internal warfare. So now you're addicted to the heroin, all right? Tell us.
It was a difficult process to get out of my life, you know. I can remember when I came home, that sister of mine that I didn't really have contact.
Connie. Okay.
Yes. Connie came to, this is right after I got back to the United States and got back to Indiana. She came and found me to find out, you know, how I was, and she wanted to be with me.
Yes.
Well, my sister had already been in the lifestyle. My sister was a very attractive woman. She knew a lot of people, and she was in the lifestyle where she was a kingpin.
And what is that?
That means that she was selling drugs, and she was involved into a 5-state cartel at that time, you know.
And she was using drugs also?
Yes. And she told me about this place, and she went to show me where this place was, and I didn't even know. I've been in the city all that time, and she and I went into this hotel where she knew the people, and she intravenously used drugs at that time, and
right
she almost died.
And she did this in front of you?
Yes. And the person that was in the house said, "Man, you need to take your sister, and you need to get her out of here, because if she doesn't move around, she's going to die." And so I walked her up and down the hall, and I had just been home for about maybe about a month. I walked her up and down the hall, back and forth, back and forth. I was afraid, and you know, it was people looking out the doors. It was really a place that I didn't need to be.
Yes.
You know, but that's the lifestyle that we both were in at the time.
And then that's where she would go, and she would use drugs. And
she was from South Bend, Indiana, because she was living out of Gary. So she came because she heard about the drugs and stuff that was in Gary.
And you didn't even know about this place?
No.
When you found out about this place, did you go back to that place to use drugs?
No.
You never went to that place?
No.
All right, but you went to other places?
Yes, and fortunately for me, what happened after that is my mother's relative found out I was in Gary.
Okay.
And he came and he was looking for me.
Okay.
And he found me, and he came to my home, and he asked me what was I doing.
That's Cousin Joe Smith?
Yes.
All right.
And so he said that I need you to come with me and come and live with me. Well, I was totally perplexed, because I didn't have that type of relationship with him, and why would he want me to come? But he kept insisting. He asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Jody, I want to get an education."
Okay.
I said, "But I'm too deep down and involved in this type of lifestyle."
Okay. And you wanted to get an education. Why? Why did you want to be?
Because that was one of the things I took from the military. I met a lot of people, and a lot of people that had educations, and that they insisted. They said, "Whatever you do, man, you know, get your education."
All right.
And one friend of mine that didn't make it back, you know, he kept insisting that I do that. So I was really motivated to.
All right. Okay.
So Jody asked me, my cousin asked me to come up to Ann Arbor, Michigan,
All right.
where I swore I'd never return him because it was so cold.
It was cold, all right.
And I said, "I'll come that January. I'll come after January 1, and I'll come in and I'll try it." I didn't show up. He called my home and said, "If you don't come, I'm coming to get you."
He said, "I'm coming to get you."
Yes.
He was that emphatic about you being out of that environment and coming to live with him.
Yes.
All right.
And so
that's where it goes back to that statement, it takes a village, a family, the support. All right.
So he came and got me. And well, he didn't come and get me, but he insisted I come. So I drove up, and his family opened the doors, and they welcomed me, and they treated me just like a son.
Just like that? You just moved in just like that?
Yes.
You know, now you hear that about other cultures, but you don't hear that too much in the African-American culture.
Yeah.
And you went and you lived with them, and you went to school.
And then they put me in school. I went to Washington Community College for my first year.
Right.
I graduated with an associate in about a year and a half, because I was just taking courses. And
was that in liberal arts?
Liberal arts.
All right.
Then I went to the University of Michigan.
Okay.
While I was at the University of Michigan, a strange thing happened to me.
And what was that?
My sister was dying, and I got a call from my brother indicating that, you know, if you don't go see her soon, that you'll miss her. So I was in class that day, and I went straight home, and I got some things, and I just drove down the road. One of the things that did not happen was he didn't tell me where she was located. He didn't tell me what hospital in South Bend, where she was. Or
you didn't know anything?
I didn't know any of that. But I'm driving down the road, and I didn't have a cell phone at that time.
Because you were determined to find your sister.
That's all I thought about.
Okay.
So I drove down the road, and as I drove, I finally got to South Bend, Indiana. I recognized the dome at Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, I don't know. I got to get to a phone or something to call and find out. But I drove a little further past Notre Dame, and it was a hospital on the right side of the road. I pulled into this hospital. I said, well, let me try here. And I went up to, after I parked, I went into the hospital and went up to the information desk.
Yes.
But it was so crowded, and it was confusion.
Yes.
And I couldn't talk to anybody for a while, and I got frustrated. Mm-hmm. I just started walking down the hallway.
You just helped yourself.
I walked down the hallway. And this hospital had beds different hospital rooms on the first level.
Yes.
As I walked on the fourth room that I came to, I looked to the right, and there was my sister.
Right there?
Right there.
You found your sister?
Yes.
Without anyone assisting you?
Nobody helped me.
No one?
As I walked into the room, Kim.
Yes.
The doctor came in behind me about maybe 5 seconds later and asked me to leave. He said, I'm sorry, but I need to talk to my patient, and you can go. And she raised her head up and said, whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of him. That's my brother.
My.
I stood by the window, Kim, and as I stood there, he told my sister, he said, Connie, after all the tests that we've had, he said, we've come to the conclusion that there's no hope. He said, it's just a matter of time.
He said there's no hope?
He said there's no hope. It's just a matter of time.
What did that do to you at that moment when you heard those words?
I was like mortified. I mean, why did I have to be here at this time? Mm. But in
a way, and not to interrupt you, it was good because she didn't have to hear those words alone.
Yeah. I mean, if that could add any comfort, I was there as support. Yes. As I walked over to the bed, though, mm-hmm. to grab her hand or something, because I didn't know what to do, she reached and pulled her fists up and hit the bed with all her strength. The IV pole is shaking, mm-hmm. and she just hit the bed, and she said, I should have been. Mm. And then she came down and she hit it again, Kim. Boom! And she said, I could have been anything I wanted to be. Mm. And she hit it a third time, boom! I would have been. I should have, I could have, I would have been. And all I could do was just cringe. And as I reached out to grab her hand, I noticed, tears running down her eyes. Yes. And I said to myself, I do not want to die like this.
That's what you said?
I said that.
So she's thinking now, remembering and reflecting what her life could have been if she had not used the drugs.
Right.
And now here you are using the drugs and you saying, I cannot die like this.
Right. Even though I was in school, I would go back and use drugs and stop and sell and do all of that. Even though I was in school.
You were still dabbling in the drug life. So, but seeing your sister like that.
It kind of opened my eyes. Because I just knew I didn't want to die like that.
Now here's your sister dying. His sister is dying, and how God works in mysterious ways, and how those words all this time, possibly no one else, school, coming back from Vietnam, living through it, you made it. But seeing your sister, hitting that bed, that turned your life around.
Yes, because it didn't stop me right then. Because when I went back, I still managed to maneuver and do the things I was doing, but in the back of my mind, it was planted. The seed was planted.
Okay.
If you don't turn your life around, then this is what you have that's waiting.
Okay.
And I didn't want to die like that.
We've got about 3 more minutes, and there's so much to this story. We're going to probably have to do a part 2. But I want them to understand and know the pain you've endured and the hurt, but not only that, how God has brought you to this wonderful message.
God brought me here because I was searching. you know. And remember, I didn't want to die using anything or in that lifestyle, but God found a way. He put his hands on me. I know he put his hands on me. All those things that I told you,
yes.
you know, they happened in my life.
Yes.
And, you know, my sister finding her, that was confirmation. I knew that he had his hand on me in a special way. And I knew that he had things planned for me that I had no idea. Yes. All I had to do was be open to
yes.
it and recognize that through him, he was going to protect me and he was going to introduce me to new things.
Oh, yes.
I had to be ready for it.
All right. We're going to bring Arthr back in a few minutes, but just hold on because we want you to know how God brought all this together. We'll be right back with Making It Work. If you're just joining us today, our topic, where do we start? How do we finish? And my husband's been sharing his testimony, and it's just so much. So we're going to have to do a part 2 to this story because there's so much, and I don't want you to miss any of this. Arthr, you've shared so much about your life, losing your mother, going to Vietnam, being shot, coming back, being addicted to morphine or heroin, seeing your sister die, but then God still, he delivered you from substance abuse, brought you into this marvelous life. How can you just tell us briefly, how did you come into the Seventh-day Adventist message?
It was strange, Kim, because I tell everybody all the time I was chasing a skirt.
He always says he was chasing a skirt.
You know, and so you just happen to have that skirt.
And I was wearing that skirt, all right.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was the beginning. But I had a burning desire to find out what did God want me to do.
Yes.
And I had a burning desire because I never doubted that God existed. Yes. I just felt that, you know, I had been dealt a real difficult blow. All
right, so you were baptized. I want to also say he earned his associate, his Bachelor of Science in Education, LMSW from Wayne State University as a clinical licensed social worker. Married, and but before we were married, he accepted the church, the message, baptized, and he became a part of the Lake Region Conference, Family Life Department.
Oh, man.
It's so much to this story, but most of all, he gave his life to the Lord. Arthr, we got to do part 2. Can we do part 2?
I don't know, Kim. You had to do something special. You had to cook something special.
I'm going to cook because you've got to know part 2. Listen, I got to close this out, but I want to thank you for joining us. God had his hands on this man, and he brought him into my life. I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin, Making It Work. God bless.